24 hours ago right now, Denny Hamlin was celebrating in the Poconos, thinking he had won for a third time this year. Kyle Busch was second. It was a 1-2 finish for Joe Gibbs Racing.
He crossed the finish line first, but hours later, he was stripped of everything. Denny Hamlin's disqualification wasn't just a penalty, it exposed a deeper problem in NASCAR that no one saw coming. It all came to a head after the 2022 Pocono race, where Hamlin crossed the finish line first, only to be stripped of his victory. Officials found a tiny piece of clear tape on his car's front fascia during the post-race inspection. That piece of tape, according to NASCAR, provided an aerodynamic advantage. The punishment? Disqualification. Hamlin's win was erased, making him the first Cup Series winner to be DQ'd since 1960. For Hamlin, that moment wasn't just frustrating, it was revealing. It exposed what he sees as a growing issue in the sport, a cat-and-mouse game between teams trying to push limits and officials trying to enforce them. And with the introduction of the NextGen car, the stakes have only gotten higher. Teams are trying to find any edge that they can with the NextGen car because you're boxed in so many areas, Hamlin said. You're just trying to find any advantage. It's just a game of can you get caught or not.
And I ask this, is it if it's becoming too much necessarily, does it create a bad perception or anything? One way or
not really. I mean, it's just teams are trying to find any edge that they can with the next-gen car because you're boxed in so many areas that you just try to find any advantage. And it's just a game of, can you get caught or not?
That one sentence might be the clearest summary yet of the silent war raging inside NASCAR. The next-gen car, introduced to promote parity and reduce costs, has standardized many parts of the car. The result? Fewer opportunities for teams to innovate. But in a sport built on speed and strategy, innovation never dies. It just gets sneakier. This season alone, the penalties have piled up. Chris Buescher's team was fined $75,000 and docked 60 championship points for a violation involving the front bumper cover. Joey Logano and Ryan Preece were both disqualified at Talladega due to inspection failures. The message is clear: NASCAR is watching, and it isn't afraid to drop the hammer. But that brings up the question Hamlin and others have been asking for years. Is NASCAR being consistent? Because from the outside looking in, it doesn't always seem that way. Some teams get harsh penalties for minor infractions. Others get off with a slap on the wrist. And with so much on the line, wins, points, sponsorships, the cost of inconsistency is enormous. Hamlin's stance is simple. If there's a rule book, follow it. Whatever the infraction, whatever it says in the book, that's what the penalty should be, he stated. It shouldn't be negotiated up or down or anything like that just by the book. That might sound obvious, but in NASCAR, it's not always that straightforward. Rules can be interpreted, penalties can be appealed, and when millions of dollars are involved, things get murky fast. And it's not just the teams that are feeling the impact, fans are noticing too. Social media lights up every time a disqualification is announced, with debates over fairness, favoritism, and whether the sport is becoming more about technicalities than racing. When a driver loses a race in the garage instead of on the track, it changes how people see the competition. At the heart of the issue is NASCAR's attempt to modernize. The next-gen car is a massive shift aimed at making the sport more affordable and competitive, and in many ways, it's working. We've seen a more level playing field with underdog teams getting real chances to compete. But it comes with a trade-off. With so many components standardized, any tiny adjustment can be the difference between winning and being disqualified. Hamlin also pointed out that the new next-gen car is a major factor behind the surge in infractions. According to him, teams are pushing the limits with the next-gen car, exploring every possible advantage in a risky game of evading detection. That puts teams in a tough spot. Do you play it safe and risk falling behind, or do you gamble, knowing that one small edge might give you the win if you don't get caught? It's not about cheating, Hamlin argues. It's about survival. The rules are so tight now, it's not about intent, he explained. It's about interpretation. You can get penalized for something you didn't even realize was wrong. This season, the scrutiny has been relentless. Officials have been cracking down harder than ever, inspecting cars with forensic-level detail. And while that's led to some clear-cut infractions being caught, it's also sparked a sense of paranoia among teams. Hamlin's comments tap into a broader tension in NASCAR. The the balance between regulation and competition. On one hand, rules are necessary to keep the sport fair. On the other hand, too many rules or inconsistent enforcement can make the sport feel less about racing and more about red tape. That tension has only grown as NASCAR has tried to clean up its image. In recent years, the organization has made a push toward transparency and consistency, but not everyone is convinced it's working. For drivers like Hamlin, who have been on both sides of the penalty line, it's clear that the system still has flaws. And it's not just about him. Hamlin's speaking for the garage. He's speaking for the teams that work around the clock only to see their efforts undone by a minor, often unintentional rule violation. He's speaking for fans who want to see battles won on the track, not in a courtroom. So, what's the solution? Hamlin believes it starts with clarity, a rule book that leaves no room for interpretation, penalties that are swift, consistent, and based solely on the written rules, and perhaps most importantly, an acknowledgement from NASCAR that the current system, while well-intentioned, isn't perfect. Denny Hamlin emphasized the importance of fairness, stating, "It's certainly got to be fair for everyone. I had a race win taken away, so yeah, one for all for sure. Whatever the infraction, whatever it says in the book, is what the penalty should be level. It shouldn't be negotiated up or down or anything like that, just by the book." That call for fairness has struck a chord across the sport, because whether you're a top-tier team or a small operation scraping by, the rules should be the same. And if NASCAR wants to preserve the integrity of its races, it needs to make sure everyone believes that. Hamlin's remarks have sparked a broader conversation about the future of NASCAR. Can the sport maintain its integrity while still allowing for competition and creativity? Can it embrace technology without letting it overshadow the human element? And can it enforce its rules without losing its soul? These aren't easy questions, but they're the ones NASCAR has to answer. For now, Hamlin continues to race, knowing that every finish could be subject to review. But he also continues to speak out, pushing for a better system, not just for himself, but for the sport he loves. Because in NASCAR, the difference between victory and defeat isn't always measured in seconds. Sometimes it's measured in millimeters of tape. This might just be the beginning of something much bigger. Subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories that NASCAR doesn't want you to hear.